Let's create a pivotal impact. Hey, everybody, super excited to have you back on the Truck Focus podcast. Super hyped that we're doing basically a recap of A Youthful Take on Transportation 2021. I know it was a super powerful year for yourself, obviously for myself, this entire experience on the podcast. And just super grateful that you're still at the point where, everything in trucking is still interesting. I can still see the passion, and the best of all, you still really appreciate the people. So I'm really excited for our conversation today. So welcome, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, Steph. Thanks so much for having me on.
So absolutely. So why don't you kind of walk us through what is the Youthful Take all about?
So what the Youthful Take podcast series is about it's about me as a youth interviewing industry experts to teach me things that they have learned over the years so I can teach other youth like myself about the wonderful things in the trucking industry.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And is there anyone you wanted to give a shout out to this morning?
Just a quick little shout out to Compliance Box, our sponsor.
That's right. Yeah. So massive shout out to Compliance Box. So much gratitude for all of the support that they've given us over this journey. And definitely highly encourage you to learn more. Just visit compliancebox.ca. They truly do make compliance easy. So awesome, man. And thanks so much. So Avery, why don't you kind of give us a recap on what's the number one thing that you appreciate about the transportation industry?
I just think the number one thing I appreciate about the industry overall is just the people in the industry, what they do every day, the truck drivers, the managers, just what they do every day. It's just pretty cool when you think about it that truck drivers travel pretty much all over the world to deliver supplies that help us and our families.
That's right. Yeah, tons of gratitude. And again, it's just being as your dad, being as just someone that obviously I'm your number one coach. It's just really nice to see that you value that. And again, there's highs and lows of life. And sometimes when we're really excited about stuff, it's always front of mind. And then we've had a really busy year with other stuff too, but it's just awesome that obviously we're December 18th when we're recording this. And I still see the passion, and it's just great to hear that you really appreciate the people of our industry, because like people like myself, like Appa Bowdy, like lots of people obviously involved in trucking, where there's so much to be grateful for. So I appreciate that. So before we talk about specifics, who you've interviewed, what would you say is the number one takeaway for yourself that you've received just through this journey? When we kind of we started this whole podcast journey about a year ago. We started actually recording February. We went live in March. And we started doing a Youthful Take. I think it was around May. So give it, say, 7 months. What would you say is the number one takeaway that you've experienced this far?
I think the number one takeaway from overall is just that interviewing different people and learning new information about what people have done in the transportation industry. And it's just crazy to think that we've interviewed so many people in the past 60 episodes. And it's just crazy to think that we've interviewed so many people and we've learned so much about what they do in the industry.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And honestly, all the leaders that have stepped up to be interviewed by Avery, thank you so much. Because again, it's different if he goes to school, you learn some great stuff, he comes home, and then that's kind of it. But that's not just it. And it's really nice that just industry leaders that I really respect have really stepped up to, really just, Avery, know this. Hey, what about this? And how about this? And did you know this? And did you realize that? Also for the reciprocation, because again, a lot of times you think, okay, he's 11. Cool. It's like, no. He's an impactful youth, and there's tons and tons of impactful youth. Age is irrelevant. So just, it's nice to see. And I'm super grateful for the leadership that, has really stepped up to really just, ingrain their knowledge in Avery's brain and just, allow him to value people. It's really exciting. So who's been on the series so far, and what would you say is the number one thing they've taught you?
Well, first of all, I like to talk about Bruce Outridge, and he's an amazing guy. And what was the number one thing that he talked about was that to appreciate different personalities in the industry. There's many different types of people, many different personalities in the industry, and you just got to appreciate who they are. And it's just crazy. And I was on one of Bruce's podcasts as well, short little episode, but it was pretty cool to meet him. Well, I wouldn't say meet him in person, but it was pretty cool to meet him on a Zoom.
Totally. Yeah. So Bruce, thank you so much. Personalities is key, and being your own person is key. And I know post episode, Avery was on cloud nine. I was too, because you allowed him to participate in the one of your episodes, and just the whole experience was awesome. Just your enthusiasm and your encouragement towards Avery was awesome. And again, that just shows there's three different personalities in the industry from us three talking. And I believe that Avery will just continue to be able to adapt his ability to show empathy to people with that knowledge, to realize, hey, there's different personalities out there, and that's a good thing. And then you can kind of navigate that way. So I appreciate that, Bruce. And yeah, those listening, definitely check out the Lead Pedal Radio, Lead Pedal podcast. Just, yeah, lots of great stuff there. So thanks so much again, Bruce. So who else was on the podcast, and what did they teach you, buddy?
Well, another person who has been on our podcast that I've interviewed is Shelly Walker, who is an amazing person, and just the episode was so powering, and it was sort of emotional, because she was talking about how a lot of people weren't respecting drivers and that they need to respect professional drivers. And it was so crazy hearing that, because the episode went in a totally different direction that was so empowering and so emotional at the same time.
Totally. Yeah. So thank you so much, Shelley, for all that you do in industry and for the influence that you've had on myself and my journey, as well as Avery's. And yeah, I still remember our conversation, and we're like, you're right. Like, a lot of things that you said was really like very accurate, which we really appreciate. And it's, again, being Avery's dad, watching him absorb, because I'm observing these conversations and I'm like, yes, feed him, because respecting drivers is key. And at the end of the day, when you think about a professional driver, the moment that they leave the yard, they're either dealing with traffic, they're dealing with some type of red lights, possibly construction, now weather. By the time they get to their destination and en route, we got to make sure that we're mindful of them as well. So that way we can respect them, and we can, oh, what do you need? Okay, yeah, let's help you out. Like, so I really appreciate you installing that mindset into Avery, and the fact that you live that every day is just super empowering. So again, thank you so much. So who else, buddy? Who else hopped on the podcast?
Well, another person I like to thank for me having the opportunity to interview is Roy Jessup. And he talked about how safety is the number one priority in the industry. And that's very true, because if you went safe over the road, you could get into an accident, you could potentially get someone else into an accident, you could get hurt. And yeah, just being safe on the road, especially during the times right now where it's winter, when there's ice on the road, there's snowstorms, and yeah, you just gotta be very careful when you're on the road.
That's right. Yeah. Honestly, Roy, thank you so much. So Roy's been an over-road professional who has been operating now, I think, about 10 years as a professional driver. Super good guy. And something I really value about Roy is he enjoys the scenery, but he does so in such a safe way. And he'll, I've talked to him a couple of times as well. And we're kind of like, what's the first thing that comes to mind with Roy? He's really safety focused. He's really family orientated, and he knows, hey, I'm a professional. I have a really good job, and I got to do a good job. And I just really respect Roy. So thank you so much, Roy, for really installing that into Avery, because again, when he's communicating with his buddies and other youth, and maybe they see a commercial vehicle, maybe they see 100,000 pounds traveling down the road, and they don't realize, why is he going slower? Well, it's because he's got to operate safely, and he's got to navigate this turn differently. So just installing that in Avery is super impactful. So thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. And who else, buddy? Who else came on the podcast?
Well, another person that came onto the podcast that I interviewed was Les Mann. And he talked about how you got to plan where you need to go before you depart and go onto your route. And that's just like my everyday life. If I want to build something with Lego, I got to plan what I want to build before I build it. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm going to do. And it's the same thing with professional drivers too. If they have no clue where they have to take their load, they could get lost.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, last shout out to you as well, my friend. Super grateful for the advice and just the guidance that you offered, Avery, very generously, because there was a lot of depth in that conversation as well. And you're absolutely right. In order to get there safely, you got to plan ahead. You got to know, where am I stopping for fuel? Where am I stopping for rest? What happens if a breakdown happens? Where is this load even going? Like, all of those things that you need to be mindful of ahead of time. And I think that's a really strong way to live your life as it is. If it's going to the grocery store, as Avery said, building Lego, you got to have a plan. And I know you're a man of plan, you're a man of action, and it's just really great to see. And I'm super grateful for just all the confidence that you've installed into Avery talking about that, because again, we had numerous examples, but at the end of the day, it's creating a plan and executing the plan. So thank you so much. So who else did you get to interview, buddy?
Well, lastly, it was you and I. We talked about how there's so many incredible opportunities that you can have in the transportation industry. Either you could be a professional driver, you could be a manager, you could work at a truck stop or a scale, whatever you want to be. But yeah, it's crazy that there's so many incredible opportunities in the transportation industry.
Totally, buddy. Yeah. And again, I'm super grateful that you appreciate my mindset, because again, I think I do think a little differently than others, which is nice. And that you're really living out my type of mindset in your own way, because again, you're your own person, which is the best part. And there's so many opportunities in the industry. Like, I literally started as a professional driver. I've navigated multiple aspects of our industry throughout my career this far. And that's something that I really want you to understand. And maybe it's not even just transportation. Maybe it's the logistics side. Maybe it's the warehousing side. Maybe it's the technology side. But there's so many different aspects that impact transportation that I'm just really grateful that you can see that. And just again, as you navigate through school, I know that you're starting tech here right away. You're starting music right away. Obviously, you got basketball going on. You can think, man, there's so many opportunities. Leadership through sports is honestly such a large contributor to the success of transportation. It's crazy. So there's lots of cool stuff there. And I'm grateful that you're interested, but you've really adapted that mindset. And then obviously 2022 is not too far away. So it's just nice to see, okay, what's to come? How do we grow from here? Who do we get involved with? I have lots of goals for us, but I want to know, what are your goals for 2022 when we're talking specifically for Youthful Take?
Well, one of the biggest goals that I really want to achieve is speaking in schools and teaching other youth in person. And I know that the pandemic has very much been a conflict with that goal. And yes, I know it's still happening right now, but as 2022 approaches, I really want to achieve that goal. I wanna speak to other youth in schools. I want to teach other youth the opportunities in the transportation industry and just what they can do when they grow up.
Very cool. Yeah. And obviously you have my full support, because I think collectively together, we have a really cool message, and it's a different approach. And you're so well spoken, and maybe this is a dad moment, so I'm just going to make you blush, but it's really, for me, it's the reciprocation when I watch you speak. And I know that when you go to school, you had the presentation and you crushed your presentation. I'm like, yeah, you did. Because a lot of the skill sets that we're learning just through this experience to get to a point where you're speaking directly in schools in front of, say, it's 100 of your classmates, and you're talking about just the pros of the industry. And it's not just you have one job, you stay there for 45 years and then you retire. That's no longer the day and age we live in, and we understand that. So there's so many things that you can speak on, from how do you buy a truck to what's insurance, and how does an insurance professional navigate their world, or how do you get financing to buy this piece of equipment, or my customer's upset, what do I do? There's so many different things there where, again, as a youth teaching other youth, there's so much opportunity. So again, 2022, pandemic aside, we are really optimistic that we're going to get into school, so that way Avery can really lead this change. He can lead with his enthusiasm and his passion for industry. So that's a call to action. The Calgary School Board, we would gratefully accept a conversation just to start basically this process, as well as I know there's tons of other school opportunities out there where we would gladly start talking to you and if it's your faculty, if it's your students, just about the opportunities. And we can go in a lot of different ways. It's all positive. And as you can see, Avery leads the show, and it's just super awesome. So thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. So again, we talk about leadership all the time. We talk about impact all the time. And we can talk about it different levels, different depths, because again, there's things that you and we have great boys days, we have great boys times, and we have a certain level that we can get to. And then there's times where it's you and your best buddy hanging out, and there's a certain level that you guys hit to. It's all about impact. So if it's your sports, your video games, obviously through transportation, there's a lot there. But when you think about, okay, I'm Avery, and as Avery, I'm obviously 11, you're almost 12, which is super cool. And you're having an impact every day. You're leaving a legacy behind every day. Every day you go to school and you come home, you're impacting people. And that impact is part of your legacy. So when you think of, okay, as Avery, what do you want your legacy to be? And I'll ask two questions actually. First, what do you feel your legacy is with your friends? And secondly, what do you hope that as you continue to grow in this space, your legacy will continue to be?
I just think that the biggest legacy that I have right now with my friends is being their friend. I remember at the beginning of the school year, I sat beside one of my very good friends, and we didn't know each other at the time because I was new to the school and he didn't know me. But the moment we sat beside each other, we just instantly bonded. We exchanged each other's phone numbers. We had a bunch of talks about what we could do, and yeah, it's just crazy that I was able to impact one of my biggest friends' lives just by being his friend.
Yeah, absolutely. And then moving forward in life, what do you feel that you want your legacy to be?
That's a very good question. I kind of want my legacy to be where, as a youth, I was able to share the goal of transportation industry, share the idea of the transportation industry as a young youth and what you could do in the industry, and just what you can. Yeah, it's just crazy. I just want to be known as a youth sharing what you can do in the transportation industry.
Totally. What's possible? Yeah, that's great, man. And you just, super proud of you, buddy. Love you very much. And it's just, again, it's great to see. Obviously, we're looking at each other in camera, not in person, but you're literally behind me in the other room. So it's just nice to know that that's your goal. And again, to whatever level you take it, that's totally up to you. But you obviously have mom's support, you have my support. We also have industry support. And I've listened to some incredible positive feedback from different industry leaders talking about you, talking about the fact that at the end of the day, you care. And anyone has the ability to care. There's no real, you have to have a master's degree in caring before you can care. It's a decision that you have to make every day. And just knowing that you care and knowing that that's encouraging leaders in Ontario, in the Atlantic provinces, in British Columbia, obviously here in Alberta, for others to care, I think that's super cool. And I'm just excited for your journey. And I think just, again, being your dad, it's that much more empowering because obviously we got a long way to go in life, but just knowing that, okay, he thinks about this kind of stuff, he cares about this kind of stuff, and we all have ups and downs and we navigate through it. But again, it's so super empowering. And I'm just super, super hyped for where the Youthful Take is going. I'm super hyped for 2022 and just the goals that we've set out for ourselves as individuals, but also as a family, as well as with this podcast space. And I think, just collectively, we're going to have a huge impact on a lot of people. So just super grateful that you joined me again today. Episode 60 is another milestone episode for us. And for those that are listening, if you haven't noticed the trend, Avery and I try and hop on every milestone episode that we can, because it's really important. This is a huge family mission for us. And our ultimate goal is to create a pivotal impact in the lives of others. And it's through, just your dedication, your investment of time that we're able to do that. So Avery, thank you so much again for just taking the time today to hop on. Again, massive shout out to our sponsors, Compliance Box. And just these mugs are just, to me, it's a quick recollection of just the investment that they have into us. And just the fact that, Chris, honestly, so grateful just for your constant support, your faith in our vision, and just, it means the world. So again, Compliance Box, they are a game changer. So when we're talking carrier compliance, I'm in Alberta, he's in Alberta, so let's talk Alberta. If you're a carrier, so if you're registered, if you have a commercial vehicle registered over 11,793 kilograms, certain things are required of you. Obviously, there's a federal carrier, provincial carrier, all that good stuff, but there's certain requirements when we're talking compliance that are required of you. I highly, highly, highly encourage you to work with Compliance Box because Chris is one of the smartest in the game, but he really cares about people. And I think that's why we align so well, is we want people in our industry to be successful. So Compliance Box, they're way more now than when I even first learned of them as just a pre-trip inspection app per se. They now are they're almost live, I should say, with automatic driver files, automatic vehicle files. They have driver evaluations, basically anything you need in your compliance program, they're working on or they have in place. And it's all for $1 a month per driver. So honestly, you can't get that anywhere else. Absolutely incredible. So visit compliancebox.ca and definitely reach out to ourselves. I'll gladly introduce you to Chris. Super great guy. Just, again, super smart, but really cares about the people of our industry. So really cares about you and your success. And so do we. So again, thank you so much, Compliance Box, for just the ongoing support. Really, really means the world. And to all of our dedicated listeners, honestly, thank you so much. So episode 60, it's a big milestone for us. And just, again, we just are so grateful for your just dedication and investment of time, as well as your interest in letting other people know, hey, Truck Focus Podcast, hey, Youthful Take on Industry. This stuff's really good. Really appreciate all of that. Really appreciate all the kind words. If this is the first time you've ever checked out the Truck Focus Podcast, I also welcome you. Just super grateful again for your investment of time. So we really just, again, we're all about creating an impact in the industry. It's through leadership. It's through Avery, who is, again, my son, who I'm super blessed. And again, just thank you so much for your investment of time. If you want to learn more, I do recommend that you check out our website. So it's www.pvtlindustry.com. If you put a /truck focus, you see all of our podcast stuff. You can see some other great content as well. Sign up to our monthly newsletter. Of course, the link is below. If you've really enjoyed this today and this is the first time, or if you've listened to us a few times on YouTube and you've not yet done so, subscribe. That way you're notified of all of our upcoming episodes. We do release one at least weekly, sometimes twice weekly, and just some really good content in the works. So again, thank you so much. I hope you have a great day, and let's create a pivotal impact. Bye.
Bye.